Good morning. Here's the second video of today. The first one was the 4 hair exercises for extreme growth, length, strength, volume, and shine. And now is going to be the knitting video. What's on my needles, what's off my needles, what's been going on. Well, first up, I showed you in the last video some of the thoughts that I was going to be doing, the plans that I had. And it's turned out a little bit different to that. However, I have got some stuff off the needles. Sorry, I don't know. Today is not a good concentration day, obviously. So, what did I do? I finished off my washcloths. Here you go. This time I made them different. I just did plain garter stitch and I did different sizes. I did this semi-large size. I did three of those. So just plain garter stitch. And this is only one thread, so these are thin so that they dry quick. Okay, so I did 3 of the bigger size, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of various sizes, so all smaller than the other, a bit longer, a bit shorter, a bit more square. So 13 of those. So that's now all the red cotton gone, or the orchid. That's all of that gone. And I'm glad to have finished this, so that I can start using a lot. I know, how many did I do last time? Was it 7? Something like that. So those were in stockinette with an outside rim of garter. And these are all garter. I wanted something more fluffy, but still soft. So this is 1 thread, and 13 of these in total. 13 small ones, 3 big ones. That makes 16 actually, doesn't it? I can't even count. And then the next thing off my needles is something similar. I have done this before, but I did that in the color green, and I did it for a friend, which was a different sort of I used different measurements. So I made here also out of cotton. This is 100% again jeans, but I can't remember what the name is, from Ice Yarns or Yarn Paradise. They are the same. And I did for the washing up, so just to put some dishes on this. And the difference between this and the washcloths is this is double yarn. So here we go, you see double yarn. I'm still on one, so that's still on the needles. I have these 2 balls left, and I'm going to make a scrubby, also double yarn, and 1 more of these. That's still got to come. And because I have, sorry the noise, I have 2 full balls of yarn and this started lot. So that should get me a bigger scrubby like this, maybe a bit larger. I never measure, I just measured more or less a length of long cast on, and cast on as many as I can, and then I knit to where I think it is. So a scrubby about this size, and I have 2 small ones, and as I said, so there will be then 1 more out of that, and another larger scrubby, but I'm just making them rectangular for myself. My friend got little round ones as well, and the measurements were different. I made extra thick ones because they were folded double, so these were basically double like that, so that they were super thick. I don't want mine to be quite as thick as that because I want mine to dry quickly in air dry them quickly. So why did I do this? Some people have asked me, why do I do basically a dishcloth for putting out, or a spongy cloth for putting out dishes? It's because the normal dishcloth I have, the bought ones, the Terry, wait, I'm just trying to reach out for it. Of course, everything else is dropping. These, I have these, right? These are Terry. Okay. But as soon as I put something that's semi-wet on here, it just soaks right through and drips through and goes onto my work surface, which is wood. So I didn't want that. I wanted something that is really fluffy and thick and that would absorb the water as quick as possible. And all I have to do then is hang it out to dry and then throw into the washing machine, you know, same with all cottons on high if I need to. So that is why this thickness, this double thickness, and the garter stitch will absorb quickly without having anything. Well, it will come through maybe a little bit if it's too wet, but it doesn't come through as quick with this and absorbs really, really fast. So that is why I have done that. Then I said I was going to start another pair of socks, which I have done. My trusty method of cardboard foot. Mentioning that, let me just pause for a second because I've got a new tool which is fabulous. Okay, you know that I have been using this for years. I just traced my foot, put a line down. Where is it? Yeah, here. Pardon me. Put a line down where my toes stop and where my arch starts, basically, so that I have the measurements of width as well as length. And then at the back, I sometimes write down which yarns I use, how many stitches. And the centimeters, I write down how many centimeters. This is what I've been using for years. Okay. So now I have a new tool where I actually, this is from Fleece Loved Products. It's a Soccer's Rule, which gives you a gauge and Kitchener stitch in UK as well as European, and I think American sizes as well. No, not American sizes. There we go. You see, so here I just want to show you this. Okay, here's the centimeters. You can go up and down. This is centimeters. And here you have your sock sizes. Let me hold it the right way around. For men and for women in European and in centimeters. You have your little Kitchener stitch down here. And then if you turn the sock rule round, then you have inches going up here. Again, men and women in UK sizes and in inches. And another, and no, that's the Kitchener stitch, sorry, and the other side was actually Soccer's gauge. So the sock, as explaining the knitting needle gauge down here. Okay, so that's a new one. I love this if you're confident in width, okay? If you're confident in the width of your sock, how it has to be, then this is fabulous. Then all you're doing is checking up on your length and your sizes, right? Sizes as in shoe sizes. Right, so now I just want to give you an example here. Here are the socks that I started. Okay, and once again I did moccasin toe. Let me just get all this out of the way. So moccasin toe, you can see the moccasin there. Moccasin toe, it's going to be again an afterthought heel, but I'm going to try something different this time, and if it works out well, I will put a video up on that. So I won't give you a clue quite as yet what I'm going to be doing there. So now I just want to show you the difference here. Okay, here's my cardboard, and as this is used, as you can see, it's been folded quite a few times. So I've got to be careful putting it in. I need to make myself a new one really out of stiffer cardboard. I did have a second one, but I don't know where that's gone to. So now you will see what I mean. This is where I can say, okay, this definitely fits me, right, in width, because this is traced from my foot. This is my actual foot size. So I know that this is not going to be too tight because it's not pulling, right? And if I put my sock on, if I fold this down, I know I've reached here, the back. Okay, in this case, I did it a little bit lower, but there it is, my heel. Okay, so I know once I reach that line, I need to put my heel in. Okay, so that's that. And now with the sock rule, and I know up to this point, it's about, no, it's exactly 15 centimeters, which is what in inches? 15 centimeters is 6 inches. Okay, so I know from toe to where my heel goes in is 6 inches or 15 centimeters, right? So here we go. This is the new rule, and I've got it in centimeters. Now you can see I can't get, because this rule is for all socks and just for measurement of height, if you like, I can't see the width of this. See how loose this is? That's why I still use this one, but I have this now for if I know well the width of a person's foot, like say for my husband's, then once I got that written down, then that is fine. So, but that works exactly the same way. You see here, I have 6 inches where my heel starts, 6 inches or 15 centimeters on this side. Okay, and it says here, in total length, yeah, the sock is supposed to be UK size 4. I'm actually 3.5 to 4, so I always go for 4. 9 inches. Yeah, so I know that I've still got quite a little bit to go up this end here to reach the 9 inches. Yeah, so this is actually a very handy little tool. I actually quite love it. I got this, did I buy it on Etsy? Yes, on Etsy. How much was it? There were different kinds you can choose. And I think the cheapest one was £10. £10, and it went up to £18, something like that. Don't hold me on that, please, because I can't remember. But that is from Fleece Loved Products. If you want to get into knitting socks and you're really going to do a lot, then do it with this. Get this for yourself if you're thinking of knitting for other people as well. All right. If you're just knitting for yourself and your husband and your kids, just do it the simple way. Okay. Just do it like this. Then you don't have to try on all the time. I only try on in between now if I am unsure about the stitches, as in the gauge, if I've changed my gauge or the needle size that I normally use, or if I have a new yarn, then I do try on. And that's why I write new yarns, I write down at the back of my, what you call this, my dummy. Yeah, so that's that. So here you go, still on the needles. And this is the opal yarn, as I'm doing 2 at a time. I did 2 balls. I did 2 color repeats from yellow through to here the khaki, and then I think the yellow will start again. So 2 repeats of this, and this is exactly 21 grams per ball from here right to the end. So we'll see if that's enough. I think it might be 21 grams should be enough. And as I'm doing the afterthought heel, I'm going to be using my hand-dyed blue Stroll from Knit Picks. Okay, that was Stroll Superwash. Yes, it was a superwash. So Stroll Superwash, hand-dyed. I could have used the green, but I didn't like the green. I just wanted to bring in another color, so I used the blue. So that was the socks. I'm going to get round to doing more of that, most probably tonight. Maybe I'll have another half-hour time to knit tonight. Don't know, not quite sure. If not, then the weekend. But I'm hoping they will be finished by latest mid next week, depending on how much I've got to do, because I've got, as I said, I've got lots of gardening to do as well and stuff like that. So stuff not where I'm sitting down. And then, oh my goodness, the disaster of the jumper. It's called A Cloudy Day, and yes, it's a lovely pattern, and I understand short rows. However, I just could not get on with how the pattern is written. I don't know. It must be my mental block because it is written clearly, and I don't know. I just can't get my head around it. Maybe because I haven't got a visual in my head as to how it's supposed to look when you're knitting it. And sometimes I have problems with that. I made the Artemisia sweater as well, and that started off in a weird way as well, where you did the neckline and the shoulders here first, and you had basically 2 halves joined together, and then you had to go down. And I had equally the same problems with that one, but I had video help with that one, so I knew what it was supposed to look like, so I knew where I was going. But this one, I had absolutely no idea where I was going. So what happened was I basically unraveled it 3 times. I've knitted it 3 times and it just didn't make any sense to me. It didn't look right to me. So I unraveled it, and now I have restarted, and what I'm basically doing is I'm just doing a basic garter stitch, how I would normally start my top down sweater. But instead of rib, I'm doing garter stitch. So I've got different stitch count now, and I'm doing just a normal garter stitch at the top, doing raglan all the way down. And I think I will pick up the pattern again to see if I can manage the short rows for the bottom Fair Isle bit. If I read through it again and I still can't cope with it after having read it various times already, then I will just add the Fair Isle on. That's what I think I'm going to be doing in the end, because it's not worth the hassle. I want to have this jumper done, and maybe another time my head is clearer and I can do it properly as described on the pattern. Sometimes I do come across these blocks, mind blocks. I did have that for quite a while on socks even. People say, oh, you're so confident in knitting socks, and even if you do mistakes, you just you just carry on and you fix them as you go along, which maybe gives more confidence to others as well, that it doesn't, it's not like a baking recipe where you have to have everything precise from the start, otherwise it won't work. With knitting, you can be flexible and you can make it up as you go along if you like, as long as you know what the end result is supposed to be or supposed to look like. So yeah, with socks, I had a huge mental block in the beginning as well, and just couldn't get my head round the simplest thing really in the end. I couldn't get my head round gauge, as in how to change the stitch count, or whether the same thing would happen if you use a different needle size. I just couldn't get my head round that in the beginning. So, but now it's, you've got to work through it. Sometimes it's worth just putting it aside for quite a while and then picking it back up and then going through it again after maybe I've got to do a few more short rows stuff, things with short rows, and then read the pattern again. Maybe I'm just not used to it because it's been quite a while since I've done short rows. And the short rows that I have done were actually sock heels, the Flegel heel and the sweet tomato heel. Those are short row heels. But it's been quite a while since I've done those. So maybe, as in not done those, physically read a pattern that explains the short row. Maybe I've just got to get used to the pattern reading again, because I'm now so used to doing things that I don't think about it anymore, and I don't read it. I just do it. So yeah, so you see, even people that have been knitting for a while, we get into our comfort zones, and sometimes things like that throw us out of the comfort zone completely. This certainly did me, because I spent most of my Sunday afternoon trying to work this pattern out, and I am defeated on it for the moment. And I'm saying for the moment because I'm sure one day I will just crack it. Maybe I'll sit down one day and think, okay, let's look at this again and start. And then Bob's your uncle, all of a sudden something clicks and there you go. That happens. Same like with socks. I hated doing socks in the beginning. Oh, I didn't tell you. Let me just give you, I don't know if it interests you, but I'll tell you anyway. Switch off if you're not interested in my past life of sock knitting. My first ever socks I knitted when I was, let me think, 14? Yes, 14. I had just learned how to knit, basically. So I was still a super beginner. I just learned how to do knit and purl. And this was at school. And then all of a sudden we were thrown this huge hurdle of knitting socks. Right. Now, I couldn't cope with that at all. In the beginning, did we? Yes, we did it top down as a cuff down. We knit the sock cuff down, it was supposed to be, and with double pointed needles. Right, in those days, double pointed needles came in 4s, not in 5s. So you had 3 to knit the sock and 1 to do the physical knitting. Okay, so you had a triangle, which at least was a benefit because you could try it on. Okay, so you could get your foot into it. But it was 1 at a time, cuff down, and with 4 DPNs, double pointed needles. Okay, so I started, and we had a finish date, right, where we had to have both socks done by, and I think it was something like 2 weeks. I think she gave us 2 weeks. The teacher gave us 2 weeks, I think it was. Right, and I started knitting along, and in the end my sock, I finished it, but my sock was like humongous. Okay, it would have fit a hippopotamus. It was that big. Okay, I don't know how I do know now. Most probably what I did, I didn't do a clean knit. I did sort of a knit, but there was like a yarn over as well, and then every round I had those yarn overs. I used to knit those as well, so I didn't recognize that was a mistake, so I kept increasing. It was humongous. It was really humongous. So I was terrified by the end result of this sock. Now I thought, I can't handle this. I can't get a bad censorship for this, you know. So I asked my grandmother to do me the second one. I said I have to have this finished by, I don't know, let's say it was a Tuesday, I can't remember. And it was already sort of like Friday before. I thought, I can't handle doing another one of these. I hardly coped with the first sock. And she made me then the second one. Of course, you could see the difference, right? Her grandmother was a very accomplished knitter, may I say. And she did it, like in, I don't know, a day. She did this sock. And one was absolutely beautiful and fit my foot perfectly and was so even in knitting, and it was just lovely. And then this horrific thing, it had loads, getting bigger and bigger. It did at least have the shape of a foot, of a sock. It did have sock shape, but otherwise it didn't resemble anything like a sock. Could have used it as a Christmas stocking. Various presents would have fit inside. Let's say it that way. Be positive. Hang it up. Hang it up on your chimney. So that was my first experience with knitting and sock knitting in general. So after that, I didn't want to hear anything about knitting whatsoever. That was just a disaster. So I didn't knit until about now 4 years ago. I picked it up again and started knitting again. So you see, things like that happen. You get blocks. I still have a block about cuff down, by the way. I still haven't done a sock cuff down, right? So sometimes you just got to push yourself. One of these days I'm going to do a cuff down sock, but I prefer toe up because I also know then how to adjust my yarn. So there you go. You see, it happens to everybody. I just say, doesn't matter how many mistakes you do, just keep at it, keep going, and keep trying. Sometimes you just have to throw it in the corner, be grumpy about it for a while, and then pick it back up again and read through the instructions again, or watch a YouTube. These days we have YouTube. Thank goodness for that. I've learned a lot from YouTube as well. YouTube, or wherever you can get your lessons from, or a knitting class, or things like that. So don't give up, just carry on and step by step. Every individual is different. And, sometimes if you find something that you like and you want to stick to just doing those things. It doesn't really matter. It's supposed to give you joy. It's not supposed to be frustrating. Okay, it's supposed to be relaxing and joyful. Okay, sometimes it's not quite so relaxing when you're trying out new things, but you get my drift anyway. So with that, have a lovely week, and I'll see you hopefully next week. Bye bye.